Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're talking all about how to nail those job interviews in English.
Okay.
We've got this awesome guide, right?
Yes.
And it's got like over 50 phrases, but we're going to go deeper. We're not just going to read the phrases to you. We want to like really understand why they work and how you can use them to just really shine. You know what I mean?
It's all about that authenticity, right?
Yeah.
It's understanding what's behind the phrase.
Yeah.
Why is it effective? And then how do you use it? So it's not just you're like this robot spitting out these phrases.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. You walk in the door, you sit down, you've got that first impression, you've got the greeting and the intro. How important is this part?
It's crucial. It's like the first few seconds can really set the tone for the rest of the interview.
Okay, and this guide has some interesting phrases here. Like one of them is, I've been looking forward to discussing how my skills align with this position. So, I mean, does that little tweak really make that much of a difference?
Yeah, it does. It does, because instead of just saying like, hi, nice to meet you, you're already indicating that you're here to provide value, that you've thought about this, you've done your research, you understand what their needs are, and you're already positioning yourself as someone who can contribute to meeting those needs.
So it's not just about finding a job, it's about helping them with their problems almost.
Exactly. It shows that you've thought about this beyond just looking at their website for 2 minutes.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we've aced the greeting. Now comes the dreaded, tell me about yourself. And I feel like people just default to summarizing their resume.
Yeah, they tend to just kind of go through like,
Yeah.
a laundry list.
Right.
And it's like a missed opportunity. This is your chance to actually tell a story.
Oh.
Think about those key skills and experiences that you have that align with this role and that make you unique.
So instead of just saying, I have 5 years of experience in marketing, what would be a better way to say that?
Yeah, so you can actually use an example from the guide, which is, I'm a highly motivated marketing professional with 5 years of experience crafting and executing successful digital campaigns. So you're already giving them something concrete.
Oh, I like that. It paints a picture.
Exactly. Instead of just listing, you're actually showcasing the impact you've had.
I see. Okay. So moving on, we start getting into like the skills and strengths. And I feel like this is where people either exaggerate or just use vague language.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really good at this.
Exactly.
And you're like, okay, well, good. Doesn't mean anything to me.
Right. And that's where this guide really stresses using action-oriented verbs. Things like proficient in or, excel at, demonstrated ability to, because you're actually showing, not just telling what you can do.
Yeah, and it has some great examples here. Like, I'm proficient in using tools like Python, Tableau, and SQL for data visualization and analysis.
Yeah.
That sounds so much more impactful than just saying, I'm good with data.
Exactly, because now you're being specific. You're using their language.
Yeah.
You're checking off those boxes on their, what they're looking for wish list.
Right. And especially in today's job market where it's so competitive, you really need to make it clear that you've got the goods.
You have those skills that they're looking for.
Okay, so we've talked about ourselves, we've talked about our skills. Now I got to dive into like our work experience. How do we get beyond just like listing our job titles and what we did at each place?
This is where I really like that the guide talks about the STAR method. Have you heard of this?
I have, but I don't know if our listeners have.
Okay, so STAR stands for situation, task, action, result.
Okay.
And it's really helpful because it gives you a framework for telling these stories that showcase your achievements.
Right.
So instead of saying, I was responsible for project management, you can actually give a specific example.
Yeah.
So in my previous role at, Company X, I managed a complex software implementation project, leading a team of 5 to successfully deliver the project under budget and ahead of schedule.
Oh, I like that. So it's not just a task anymore. It's a whole story.
Exactly. It's a story with a beginning, middle, and end. And it also highlights all those great things that you did.
Right.
Leadership, delivering results.
Yeah. And the guide really stresses the importance of using quantifiable results. Like, don't just say, I improved sales. Say, I increased sales by 20%.
Exactly. The numbers are powerful.
They make it real.
Yes.
Okay, so now we come to the part that everybody dreads, talking about weaknesses and challenges. This guide has a rather interesting take on this. What is it?
Well, it emphasizes honesty and growth. So instead of trying to hide your weaknesses or pretend they don't exist, it's about framing them as areas you're actively improving. So instead of saying, oh, I'm a bit disorganized sometimes, you can say something like, one area I'm working on is improving my time management skills. To address this, I've started using a project management tool to prioritize tasks and track deadlines.
Oh, so you're turning it into a positive.
Exactly. You're acknowledging the weakness, but you're showing self-awareness and a proactive approach.
Yeah, that you're willing to actually work on yourself.
Exactly.
And I think that's something employers really appreciate.
Absolutely. It shows you're committed to continuous learning and growth.
Okay, so we've laid all this groundwork. Now we're getting towards the end of the interview, and we have a chance to ask some questions. This isn't just about sitting there waiting for them to wrap up. This is our chance to interview them, right?
Exactly. It's a two-way street.
So the guide here, it suggests some questions like, can you tell me more about the team I'd be working with? Now that seems pretty basic. What makes a question like that effective?
Well, you're going beyond just the responsibilities. Right. You're trying to get a sense of the company culture. What are the team dynamics like?
Okay.
Do they value collaboration? What are the communication styles like? And that can tell you a lot.
So it's like reading between the lines of the job description. You're not just thinking about what you're going to be doing, you're thinking about who you're going to be doing it with.
Exactly. You're going to be spending 40 plus hours a week with these people.
Right, right. Okay, and another question that it suggests is, what does a typical day look like for someone in this role? Again, seems pretty basic. What's good about that one?
Well, it shows that you're thinking practically, right?
Okay.
About the day-to-day realities of the job.
Yeah, and I like that one because it helps you kind of picture yourself.
Yes.
Like, am I going to be in meetings all day? Am I going to be like heads down at my computer?
Exactly. And then you can gauge whether the work style aligns with your preferences. Another great question the guide suggests is, how does this role contribute to the company's overall goals?
Oh, I like that one.
So again, you're showing that you're not just there for a paycheck. You're thinking big picture. How can your work make a meaningful impact?
Right. Like, I'm here to help you achieve your mission.
Yes, exactly.
But is there a risk of sounding too ambitious or overstepping with a question like that?
Not if it's genuine. Most employers appreciate when candidates are genuinely interested in the company's mission and how their role fits in.
Okay, so it's about finding that balance between being ambitious but also realistic.
Right.
Okay, so now we're wrapping up. How do we make sure we leave a really good final impression?
So the guide talks about expressing gratitude, reiterating your interest, but making sure it's authentic.
Okay, so not just the typical, thank you for your time.
Exactly.
What's something better?
You can say something like, I appreciate the opportunity to learn more about this role and how my skills can contribute to your team. So you're being more specific.
Right, so you're summarizing what you've learned and also connecting it back to how you can help them.
Exactly. And then if you want to go a step further, you can even offer to provide additional information.
Okay.
Like, please let me know if you need any further details about my experience or qualifications.
Okay.
But frame it as a genuine offer, not a demand.
Right, right. You don't want to come across as desperate.
Exactly.
Okay, so confidence but not arrogance.
Exactly. Those closing moments are just as important as the opening.
Right. All right, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the minute you walk in the door to the minute you say goodbye. But this guide is more than just a list of phrases to memorize, right?
Absolutely. It's about understanding the underlying principles of communication and applying those to the job interview.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between using these proven techniques and letting your authentic self shine through.
Well, that brings up another point, which is authenticity, right? This guide keeps emphasizing the importance of being yourself. But how do you balance that with, you still want to come across as professional?
Yeah.
Where's the line?
Right.
How do you walk that tightrope?
Yeah. Think about it this way. You can use the phrases and the techniques to help structure your responses.
Yeah.
And to highlight those strengths. But the content should come from a genuine place.
Oh, okay. So it's you're using the guide as a foundation.
Yes.
But then you're building on top of it.
Exactly. Let's say they ask you to describe a time you faced a challenge at work.
Yeah.
You could use that STAR method that we talked about.
Right.
To structure your answer.
Yeah.
But the specific challenge you choose to talk about and how you overcame it, that should come from your real life experience.
Right, right. So it's you're using the tools.
Yes.
But then you're also letting your personality show through.
Exactly. Imagine you're at a dinner party and someone asks you about your work. You wouldn't just recite a list of phrases.
Right. You tell them a story.
Yeah, you tell a story, you talk about what you're passionate about.
Right.
It would be a natural conversation.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of energy you want to bring to an interview.
I see, I see. So it's like being yourself, but like the best version of yourself.
Exactly. Because interviewers, they're not just looking for, someone who can do the job. They're also looking for someone who's going to be a good fit for their team.
Right, a cultural fit.
Exactly. So they want to know if you'd be a good addition, not just like a robot who can do the tasks.
Right, okay. So really it's about being prepared, being professional, but also being genuine and enthusiastic.
Exactly. The guide is a great resource, for learning how to articulate those thoughts and experiences effectively.
Right.
But ultimately, it's your unique personality and passion that's going to make you stand out.
Okay. So I think to wrap up this deep dive into acing job interviews in English, the key takeaway is this. Master the techniques, use the phrases, but infuse them with your own personality and your own experience.
Well said. And don't be afraid to practice.
Oh, yeah.
The more you practice these phrases and you tailor them to your own stories, the more confident and authentic you're going to feel when that big day comes.
Right, right. Well, to all of our listeners out there who are preparing for the next big interview, we hope this has given you some valuable tools. Go out there, be yourself, and good luck. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something that I think we can all relate to. Those pesky words and phrases, the ones that we should probably just get rid of for good.
Yeah.
We all want to be better communicators, right?
Right.
And sometimes it's the little things that can really trip us up. So we found this really cool article. It's called 33 Words and Phrases to Remove from Your Vocabulary Immediately. And I'm super curious what jumped out at you when you saw this list.
It is interesting, isn't it, how we use these phrases without even realizing how they make other people see us. I think what really stood out to me was this section on filler words, all the ums and likes and knows that we all use.
Oh, yeah. We all know those ones. But what I thought was really interesting was that they pointed out a couple that I never even thought of as filler words before. Words like just and basically.
It's subtle, but they can really take away from what you're saying. Like instead of saying, I just wanted to ask a quick question, you can say, I have a question. It just sounds so much more confident, more direct. It's like you're trying to make your question seem less important even before you've asked it.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like you're apologizing for even asking.
Yeah, it's like we're apologizing for having a thought. And basically, what's wrong with that one? I use that all the time.
If you think about it, basically just adds extra fluff you don't need. It's like saying, I'm going to tell you something, but first I'm going to tell you that I'm going to tell you something.
Oh, you're so right. It's so indirect, and it's like you're not even sure about what you're going to say, which actually kind of brings us to another point. Those words and phrases that make you sound less confident, things like, I think, or hopefully, or maybe. What's going on there? Why do we use those?
Well, there's actually been a ton of research on this. It usually boils down to wanting to soften what we're saying or not wanting to come off too strong.
Yeah.
Like we're afraid of being wrong or being judged or maybe stepping on someone's toes.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, especially at work, right? Where you don't want to seem too aggressive or anything.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's also a sort of societal pressure too, like especially for women. They're kind of expected to be more accommodating and less assertive.
There's definitely a societal pressure there. And I think it's something we should all be more aware of and try to push back against. But the good news is this article gives us some really good ways to rephrase these phrases that make us sound less confident. So like instead of saying, I think we should consider this, you can just say, we should consider this. It just sounds way more confident.
I am so guilty of that one. What about those phrases that sound like you're always looking for someone to agree with you? Like, does that make sense? I think we all do that sometimes, especially when we're explaining something complicated.
It makes sense to want to make sure people are following you, but if you do it too much, it can actually make you seem less credible. So instead of saying, does that make sense? Try saying something like, I hope this explanation is clear. It gets the same point across without sounding like you need someone to tell you you're doing a good job.
That's a really subtle difference, but I can see how it would make a big impact. Maybe we should all try to pay more attention to how we're using these phrases.
Yeah.
Have you noticed yourself using any of these confidence killers in your own conversations?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we all do it sometimes. It's all about being more aware of it and making a choice to use more powerful language. And that actually brings us to another category of phrases that can really make a difference in how people see you. Apologetic language.
You mean like the apology trap?
Yeah.
I've heard so much about this. It's amazing to me how often we say sorry, even when we haven't done anything wrong.
Right.
It's like we're apologizing for existing, for like taking up space or having needs.
Yeah, exactly. And you see it a lot with certain groups, especially women. There's this pressure to be more accommodating and less assertive. But if you apologize all the time, it can actually make what you're saying seem less important.
The article gives a really great example of this. Instead of saying, sorry to bother you, but can I ask a question? You could just say, may I ask a question? You don't have to apologize for wanting to learn something.
It's such a small change, but it can make you sound so much more confident. And it just shows that you don't need to apologize for simply existing or asking a question.
Right. Have you ever been on the receiving end of that? Like someone is constantly apologizing and it makes you feel like you have to reassure them that it's okay to just exist or ask a question.
Oh, for sure. It's like it creates this weird dynamic. And I think it can be contagious too. Like if one person is always apologizing, it makes everyone else feel like they need to apologize too, even if they haven't done anything wrong.
It really is. It's like we're all shrinking ourselves and our ideas, especially at work. Which actually kind of reminds me of another category of words we should probably avoid. Vague phrases.
Oh, yeah. The kind ofs and sort ofs and all that stuff.
Right. But isn't there a time and a place for being vague? Like if you're not really sure about something or you don't want to give a definite answer.
There's definitely a difference between being diplomatic and being vague. But when you're intentionally vague, it can lead to misunderstandings and confusion. Think about it. Have you ever gotten like an email or a text message that was so vague that you had no idea what the person was trying to say?
Oh, all the time. It's so frustrating.
Exactly.
And this article points out a few vague phrases that are just the worst. Like, it is what it is.
Ugh, I know.
I hate that one. It just sounds so defeatist.
Right? Like you're just giving up before you've even tried.
Exactly. So what's a better way to deal with a tough situation?
Instead of just accepting it, why not focus on what you can do? You could say something like, here's how we can approach this, or let's look at some other options. It puts the focus on action instead of just giving up.
Okay, yeah, that's much better. It's about taking charge instead of just letting things happen. And even simple phrases like kind of or sort of can make you sound unsure of yourself.
Imagine you're trying to sell a new idea at work and you say, I'm kind of excited about this project. It just doesn't have the same impact as saying, I'm excited about this project.
Right.
By getting rid of those little words, you're saying what you really mean more directly, more confidently.
Yeah, it's like those little words create this barrier between you and what you're trying to say. And speaking of barriers, this leads us to another group of words that can really get in the way of good communication. Jargon.
The jargon jungle.
I think we've all been lost in there at some point.
It can be so confusing, especially if you're new to a field or trying to learn something new.
It really is. And sometimes I wonder if people use jargon just to sound smart or to fit in, even if it makes what they're saying harder to understand.
Oh, definitely. Jargon can be a way of showing that you belong to a certain group. But the problem is, it often makes it harder for people to understand you.
The article calls out some of the classic examples of overused business jargon. Think outside the box is one that comes to mind immediately.
Yeah.
It's become so cliche that it's lost all meaning.
It's like saying, be creative, but I'm not going to tell you how.
So how do we escape the jargon trap? What are some better ways to say these things?
Instead of think outside the box, try being more specific about what you mean. You could say something like, let's challenge our assumptions, or let's come up with some unusual approaches.
I like those. And I think it's important to remember that jargon can be different depending on what industry you're in. What might be common jargon in one field could be totally foreign in another. What are some other jargon phrases that drive you crazy?
Circle back is one that always gets me.
Yes.
It's such a roundabout way of saying, we'll talk about this later.
Just see what you mean.
Right.
And synergy. That word gets thrown around so much that I'm not even sure what it means anymore.
Synergy has become such a buzzword. It's lost all meaning.
It's like it's supposed to be this magical solution to every problem. Have you ever been in a meeting where someone says synergy and everyone just nods along like they know what it means, but secretly you're all thinking, what the heck is synergy?
Oh yeah, all the time. It shows how important it is to just ask for clarification when you don't understand something. Don't be afraid to say, I don't get it. Can you explain that?
That's such great advice. I think sometimes we're afraid to ask because we don't want to look stupid.
Yeah.
But really, it just shows that you're paying attention and you want to learn.
Exactly. And that actually leads to another important part of communication that goes beyond just the words we use. We've been talking about what we say, but it's also important to think about how we say it. Our tone of voice, our body language, our listening skills, all of that plays a role.
Yeah, it's about the whole picture, right?
Right. Imagine you're giving a presentation at work and you've got this amazing message, but you're speaking in a monotone voice, not making eye contact and slouching over the podium. It doesn't matter how good your words are if your body language is saying something totally different.
It's like we're sabotaging ourselves without even knowing it. So how can we be more aware of our body language and make sure it's matching what we're saying?
Well, it all starts with just paying attention to yourself. Like, notice how you're standing, your facial expressions, how your voice sounds. Are you coming across as confident and interested? Or are you giving off vibes that you're not sure of yourself or you don't really care?
Oh, I know. I've been in situations where I thought I was projecting confidence, but looking back, I bet my body language was totally giving away how nervous I was.
Yeah, we've all been there. The important thing is to recognize when that's happening and try to make a conscious effort to change it. So if you're feeling nervous, try to focus on standing up straight, making eye contact, and speaking clearly and evenly.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about listening? Any tips for being a better listener? Not just hearing the words, but really understanding what the other person is trying to say.
Active listening is so important for good communication. It's about being present in the conversation, paying attention to what the person is saying, both with their words and their body language, and asking questions to make sure you understand their point of view.
It's like we need to put on our detective hats and look for clues beyond just the words themselves.
Exactly. And when you really listen to someone, it shows them that you respect what they have to say. It builds trust and strengthens relationships.
That's so true. I think it's easy to get caught up in our own heads and forget to really tune in to what other people are saying. So to bring it all back to our listeners today, how can they use this information to become better communicators?
I think the first step is just to be more aware of your own habits. Notice the words and phrases you use all the time. Are they helping you or hurting you?
Yeah, like holding up a mirror to how we communicate and seeing if anything needs to be adjusted.
Right. And once you've figured out what you want to change, it's all about practice. Make a conscious effort to replace those words and phrases with something better, something more powerful and more authentic.
And don't be afraid to try different things. See what works for you in different situations.
Exactly. Communicating is a skill. And like any skill, you have to practice to get better at it.
It's a journey, not a destination, right? We're all constantly learning and growing as communicators.
So true.
So to wrap up our deep dive into the words we should banish from our vocabulary, I think the biggest takeaway is that even small changes can have a big impact. By being more mindful of the words we use, our tone of voice, and our body language, we can all become more confident, clear, and persuasive communicators.
Absolutely. The words we choose matter. They shape how people see us, how we connect with each other, and how well we achieve our goals.
So here's a challenge for our listeners. Pick one word or phrase from our list today and try to stop using it this week. Pay attention to how it feels to use a different word. Do you feel more confident? Do people react to you differently?
I love that. It's amazing how much of a difference even a small change can make.
And one final thought. Today we focused on spoken language. But what about when we write? Our emails, texts, social media posts. It's something to think about. How can we bring that same awareness and intention to our writing?
That's such a good point. What we write can be just as important as what we say, maybe even more so. It's worth taking the time to really think about what we're writing and make sure it reflects who we are and what we want to say.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored language and communication. Until next time, happy communicating. All right, let's level up those communication skills today. Ready to dive into cross-cultural conversations.
Always ready for a good conversation.
We're looking at this article called 12 Phrases You Should Never Say to Native Speakers. And I think everyone listening can relate to this. I know I've definitely made some of these mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. We all have. It's like a minefield out there sometimes. You never know what's going to accidentally cause offense.
And the thing is, it's not always about being intentionally rude, right?
Yeah.
It's about understanding the subtle ways our words can impact others, especially when we're navigating different cultures and languages.
It's about building those genuine connections, showing respect, even if we make a mistake.
Right. So let's unpack this article. What kind of conversational gems can we unearth today? And right off the bat, there's a pattern that jumps out at me. A lot of these problematic phrases start with you. Things like you speak too fast, or you don't look nationality, or even your English is so good.
It's so true. And it's interesting, isn't it? It's like we're putting the other person under a microscope, making judgments without even realizing it.
Yeah, instead of trying to understand their perspective, we just put them on the spot.
Exactly. So let's break down some examples. Take, you speak too fast. The article points out that this is often more about our own listening skills than their speaking pace.
It's about us taking responsibility.
Right. Instead of you speak too fast, we could simply say, could you repeat that more slowly, please?
It's a subtle shift, but it makes a world of difference, don't you think?
Huge difference. It changes the whole tone.
And what about something like, your language is so hard? Have you heard that one before?
All the time. And honestly, I've probably said it myself without thinking, but it can come across as so dismissive. Like their whole culture is something to be feared or avoided.
It's like if someone told you that your native language was difficult and strange. Wouldn't feel great, would it?
Not at all. Instead of judging their language, we could express some genuine interest. Maybe something like, I'm finding this one aspect challenging, but I'm really enjoying learning your language.
Yeah, I like that. You're acknowledging the difficulty, but showing that you appreciate their culture and language.
Exactly. And, you might even find that they're happy to share their own experiences. Maybe they've struggled with languages too. It can lead to a much deeper conversation.
Totally. All right, here's another one that I think a lot of us have probably heard or even said. You don't look nationality.
Oh, that's a tough one. It's like we're challenging their whole identity based on our own limited perceptions.
Reducing them to a stereotype instead of seeing them as an individual.
Exactly. The article suggests just avoiding comments on appearance altogether, especially when it comes to their nationality.
It's just not our place to make those judgments.
Right. And, we often make these comments without any bad intentions, but it's important to be aware of the impact.
Absolutely. So there's definitely a common thread here with these you statements. We need to move beyond those surface-level chit-chats and recognize that the words we choose, they can really make a difference.
They can build bridges or create barriers.
For sure. And I think this is already making me rethink some of my own conversational habits. There's so much more to unpack here. What other phrases should we avoid in cross-cultural conversations?
Well, let's move on to some phrases that dive into respecting individuality. Avoiding assumptions about people's lives. Like, have you ever been asked, do you know random person from their country?
Oh, all the time. It's like assuming everyone from a particular country is part of this giant social club. It always makes me cringe a little bit.
Right. It's like because they're from the same country, they must know each other.
It's just crazy.
And, it really highlights how we tend to put cultures in a box, forgetting about their diversity and just how vast they really are. It's like asking someone from a small town if they're best friends with the mayor, Just because they share a location doesn't mean they have this personal connection.
Yeah. Like, I'm from Canada. Does that mean I'm best friends with Justin Trudeau? Of course not.
Exactly. And it completely disregards their own individual experiences and relationships. So instead of that awkward question, what does the article suggest?
Well, they recommend something much more thoughtful. Like, I heard about this specific person or topic related to your country. What do you think about them?
Ooh, I like that.
It shows genuine interest, but it's still respectful of their individual perspective.
Yeah, you're not assuming they know everyone and everything. You're actually engaging them in a conversation.
Exactly. All right, here's another one that I think we've all probably heard or even said at some point. Your English is so good for a foreigner.
Ah, yes, the classic backhanded compliment.
It's like we're surprised they could speak English fluently.
Like we're setting this lower bar based on their background.
Yeah, and it reinforces this idea that English is the default, and everyone else is just trying to catch up. What's a better way to say it?
How about, you're very fluent?
I like it.
Yeah.
Simple and straight to the point.
It focuses on their actual skills instead of their perceived limitations.
All right, now this next phrase really made me stop and think. It's about how we view language. Have you ever heard someone say, why don't you speak your native language perfectly?
Wow. That's a tough one. Who gets to decide what perfect language even is?
Exactly. Like there's some objective standard.
Right. Languages are constantly evolving, and there are so many dialects and variations.
So it's like saying someone should be penalized for having a regional accent.
Yeah. It ignores the beauty and richness of just how different we all are.
So what does the article recommend in this situation?
Well, they recommend avoiding comments on their native language skills altogether unless they bring it up themselves.
Makes sense.
It's about respecting their own individual linguistic journey, not critiquing it.
Yeah. I'm really seeing a theme emerge here. We've talked about the you problem, respecting individuality, and now it's like we're moving towards cultural curiosity instead of cultural critique.
You're picking up on it, for sure. The article talks about approaching these conversations with a positive, inquisitive mindset.
Yeah. Instead of pointing out what someone's doing wrong based on our own cultural norms, we should try to understand why they do things differently.
What can we learn from their approach?
Exactly. So instead of judging or correcting, we should be asking questions.
Showing genuine interest. So, for example, instead of saying, "That's not how we do it," we could say, "That's interesting. Tell me more about how things work in your culture."
Okay, I like that. So what are some other examples of phrases that might fall into this category of cultural critique?
Well, one that often comes to mind is, "Can you teach me some bad words?"
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one a lot.
It kind of makes light of their language, doesn't it?
It does. It's like saying their language is only interesting if it can teach me how to be offensive.
And you know, there are so many other ways to express genuine interest in their language.
Like what?
How about, what are some phrases that locals often use?
Oh, that's so much better. It shows you're actually interested in learning about their culture.
And another common one that can be a bit intrusive is, "How much money do you make?"
Oh, yeah. That's a definite no-go.
It's way too personal, and it can be considered rude in so many cultures.
So instead of prying into their personal finances, what could we ask instead?
Maybe ask about the job market in their country, or what career opportunities are common in their field. Keep the conversation a little broader.
Right. You're showing interest, but respecting those boundaries.
Okay. Now here's one that a lot of people might not even realize is offensive. "Your accent is funny."
Ooh, I've been guilty of that one.
I think we've all chuckled at someone's accent before without realizing how hurtful it could be. It's easy to forget how personal language is.
Like you're making fun of who they are.
Exactly. So instead of that, what if we just expressed genuine curiosity? You could say, "I like your accent. Where is it from?"
You're turning a potential insult into a conversation starter.
You got it. It's all about that mindset shift. From critique to curiosity, recognizing that everyone's accent tells a story.
It's like each accent is a little piece of their history and their journey.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about what not to say, but I'm curious, what can we do to actively bridge that gap in cross-cultural conversations?
Yeah, what are the positive steps?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Instead of saying things like, "You're so lucky to be a native speaker," which can downplay their own efforts and challenges, what if we show genuine interest by saying, "It must be interesting growing up with English as your first language"?
That's a much better way to acknowledge their experience.
And instead of saying, "That's not how we say it in my country," which can be dismissive, we can say, "That's an interesting way to say it. I'd love to learn more about how expressions work here."
I love that. You're turning a potential disagreement into a learning opportunity.
And finally, instead of saying, "You wouldn't understand," which completely shuts down the conversation, we can explain our own perspective by saying, "Let me explain. It's a bit different in my culture."
It acknowledges the difference but keeps the conversation flowing.
Exactly. All of these subtle shifts, they're about so much more than just words.
It's about listening, being open, and showing respect.
You got it. It's about recognizing that we all have something to learn from each other.
Okay, we're back, ready to wrap up this deep dive into cross-cultural conversations.
Lots of good stuff to review.
We've gone from those you statements all the way to that mindset shift from critique to curiosity. So much to consider.
It's like a whole new way of thinking about how we talk to people from other cultures.
Definitely. So let's boil it down to the essentials. What are the key things to keep in mind?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, be mindful of your language. We saw how even those little phrases can have a big impact, especially when we're talking about identity or culture.
It's almost like a whole new set of rules to learn. But the results are worth it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just the words themselves. Active listening is huge. It's not just waiting for your turn to speak. It's really trying to grasp their perspective.
Putting our assumptions aside for a minute.
Right. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Genuine curiosity goes a long way in bridging cultural gaps.
Instead of assuming we know everything, we get to learn directly from them.
Exactly. And look, we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and that's okay.
I think sometimes we try so hard to be politically correct that we forget to just be ourselves.
Authenticity is key. People can tell when you're genuinely interested, even if you slip up here and there.
It's all about being open to learning from our mistakes, isn't it?
Absolutely. If there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's to be mindful, be curious, and be yourself. Embrace those conversations.
That's such great advice. We've given everyone a lot to think about.
Remember, our differences are what make the world so interesting.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into cross-cultural communication. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those conversations going.
The world's full of incredible people with stories to share. Just be ready to listen. All right, word nerds, you ready to geek out a little?
Always.
Today, we're going deep, deep, deep into the wild world of commonly misused words.
Yeah, these are fun.
It's like, we all use these words every day, right?
Right.
But sometimes even the most experienced writers and speakers can trip over them.
It happens to the best of us.
So today, we're going to unpack the nuances, the little tricks, the things that make these words so darn slippery.
And hopefully save you some embarrassment along the way.
Exactly. You know, like using the wrong word in a big presentation, that's a no-go.
Oh, absolutely.
So think of this deep dive as like a linguistic boot camp for your brain.
Love it.
We're going to make sure you're using these words correctly, confidently, and with style.
Yeah, no more grammar faux pas.
Okay, let's kick things off with a pair that always seems to cause confusion. Affect versus effect.
Ah, yes, the classic duo.
I feel like these two are like the ultimate word pair pranksters.
They really are. They sound so similar, but their meanings, they're totally different.
All right, break it down for us. What's the deal with affect?
So affect, most commonly, is a verb. It's an action word. And it means to influence or to make a change in something.
Okay, so like the weather can affect your mood.
Perfect example. Gloomy day, you feel a bit down, the weather has affected your mood.
Right. Makes sense. So then effect is the outcome, the result.
Exactly. Effect is usually a noun. Think of it as the consequence of something.
Okay, so like the effect of the rain was a flooded garden.
Precisely. The rain caused the flooding. The flooding is the effect.
Got it. But wait, I think I read somewhere that effect can sometimes be a verb too, right?
You're absolutely right. Sharp memory. Effect can be a verb, but it's way less common and much more formal.
Ooh, fancy. So when would you use affect as a verb?
It means like to bring about or to make happen. Like if you're talking about affecting change or affecting a solution.
Ah, I see. It's all about context.
Exactly. And that's what makes these words so tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, the subtle differences. But you know what? I'm kind of starting to enjoy these little word puzzles.
Me too. It's like a brain workout.
Okay, so we've tackled affect versus effect. What's next on our list of linguistic landmines?
How about then and then?
Ah, yes. These two always seem to trip people up, even though the difference seems pretty simple.
You'd think so, right? But you'd be surprised how often they get mixed up.
Okay, so remind us. What's the deal with then?
Then is all about time and sequence. It tells us what happens next in a series of events.
Okay, so like I woke up, then I had breakfast. Right.
Perfect. Then is our time traveler. It guides us through the order of things.
Okay, then for time. So then is for comparison.
You got it. Then helps us weigh things against each other, make choices, express preferences.
So this coffee is stronger than the tea.
Yes. Then is our comparison champion.
I'm starting to feel more confident already. What other word pairs are lurking out there waiting to trip us up?
Well, how about it's versus its?
Ooh, the apostrophe attack.
I know, right? This one is all about understanding possessive pronouns and contractions.
Okay, so it's with no apostrophe shows possession, like his or hers.
Exactly. The cat chased its tail. No apostrophe needed there.
But it's, with the apostrophe is short for it is or it has.
You got it. It's a contraction, a shortened form. Like it's a beautiful day. Apostrophe day.
Okay, I think I'm getting this. So it's is possessive, no apostrophe, and it's is a contraction with the apostrophe.
You got it. And here's a little trick to help you remember.
Lay it on me.
If you can replace it's in a sentence with it is or it has, and it still makes sense, then you're using it correctly.
That's helpful. So if I can say it is a beautiful day, then I know to use it's with the apostrophe.
Exactly.
Awesome. I feel like I'm leveling up my grammar skills already.
Well, you are. Keep it up.
All right, what's next on our word pair hit list?
How about a pair that's often confused, especially in written form? Lose versus loose.
Oh, yeah. These two can be sneaky. They sound almost identical.
But remember, spelling matters.
All right, help me out here. Which one is about misplacing something?
Lose is one about misplacing, not winning, or being deprived of something.
Okay, so you lose your keys or you lose a game.
Exactly.
So then loose must be the one that means not tight.
You got it.
Yeah.
Loose is an adjective. It describes something that isn't fastened or is free from restraint.
Like, my shoelaces are loose, or that dog is running loose.
Perfect examples.
Oh, okay. Lose for losing something and loose for not tight. I think I can finally keep those straight.
I think you've got it. Just remember, 1 OO means you lost something, 2 O's means something is free.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to remember that. Okay, I'm ready for the next word pair challenge.
All right, let's dive into fewer versus less.
Ooh, these two. I always get them mixed up.
It's a common mistake, but the rule is pretty simple.
All right, tell me, what's the trick to remembering which is which?
Think about whether you can count the things you're talking about. If you can count them individually, use fewer.
Okay, so like fewer apples or fewer students?
Exactly. You can count apples and students one by one.
And then less is for things you can't count individually.
Precisely. Less water, less time, less sand.
Got it. So fewer for things you can count, less for things you can't.
You're natural.
I'm starting to feel like a word wizard. What other word pairs are waiting to be demystified?
Well, get ready for this one because it's a doozy. Lie versus lay.
Oh, here we go. I know there's a difference, but I can never remember which is which.
This one has been tripping people up for centuries.
Okay, break it down for me. Which one is about resting?
Lie, with no object, is about reclining or resting. Like, I need to lie down.
Okay, and lay needs an object.
Right. Lay means to put or place something. So, lay the book on the table.
Oh, okay. So I lie down on the couch, but I lay the book down on the table.
You got it. Think of it this way. Chickens lay eggs. They're placing something down.
The classic chicken and egg example. That helps. Okay, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this. Lie for resting, lay for placing something.
You're on a roll.
All right, hit me with one more before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay, how about farther versus further?
Ooh, yeah, I've definitely used these interchangeably before. But I know there's a subtle difference, right?
There is. Think about it this way. Farther is for physical distance, something you can measure.
Okay, so like I ran farther than you, or the store is farther down the road.
Exactly. Further, on the other hand, is more about figurative distance or a greater degree or extent.
So we need to discuss this further, or I want to further my education.
Precisely.
Okay, so farther for physical distance, further for figurative distance.
You've got it. You're a word pair master.
Wow, my brain is definitely getting a workout today.
That's what we like to hear. Stay tuned because we've got a whole lot more word pair fun coming your way. All right, welcome back to our word pair extravaganza.
I'm ready for round 2. What tricky duos are we tackling today?
Well, let's start with a pair that often causes confusion, especially when you're trying to express admiration. Compliment versus compliment.
Oh, yes. These two sound so similar, but I know their meanings are totally different. I've definitely seen them misused before.
It happens. Compliment is all about praise, saying something nice.
So if I tell you I love your insights on word pairs, that's a compliment.
It certainly is, and a very kind one at that.
Thanks. Now, what about compliment? How's that different?
Compliment is more about enhancing or completing something. Think of things that go well together.
Okay, so like that scarf complements your outfit, or the wine complements the cheese.
Perfect examples. Compliment is all about creating a sense of harmony or completeness.
Got it. Compliments boost our egos and compliments enhance our style, or our cheese boards.
Exactly. What do you say we move on to another tricky pair?
Hit me with it.
How about everyday versus everyday?
Ooh, the sneaky space.
This one's all about knowing the difference between an adjective and an adverbial phrase.
Okay, remind me, what's an adjective again?
An adjective describes something like everyday clothes, meaning ordinary or routine clothes.
Right. And an adverbial phrase tells us when or how often something happens.
Exactly. Every day means each day, without exception, like I drink coffee every day.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see the difference. So every day is an adjective describing something ordinary, and every day is an adverbial phrase meaning each day.
You've got it.
Oh.
And believe me, using the right one makes a big difference in your writing.
Noted. I'll definitely be watching out for that one from now on. What's next?
Let's tackle bring versus take.
Oh, this one always makes me think of those awkward party situations. When someone asks you to bring something and you're not sure if you should take it home with you later.
I think we've all been there. Bring is all about movement towards a specific location or towards the speaker. So if you're hosting a party, you'd ask guests to bring a dish.
Right. Bring it to the party where I am.
Exactly. And take implies movement away from the speaker or location. So after the party, they would take their leftovers home.
Bring it towards you. Take it away.
Got it in one. Now, how about we test your memory on a word pair we talked about earlier? Do you remember the difference between principal and principal?
Oh, I think I do. Principal is like the head honcho of a school, right?
You got it. And principle is a fundamental truth or belief.
So a principal could have strong principles.
Nicely put. It seems like you're really mastering these word pairs. Ready for another one?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Okay, how about stationary versus stationary?
Ooh, I always think of office supplies with this one.
Good association. Stationary is all about writing materials like paper, envelopes, pens, that kind of stuff.
So when something is stationary, it means it's not moving.
Precisely. Think stationary bike. It stays in one place.
Okay, got it. I'll remember to stock up on stationery before my next stationary bike session.
Perfect. I think you're ready for a real grammar challenge now.
Ooh, bring on the big guns.
Okay, how about who versus whom?
Uh-oh, I can already feel my brain sweating.
Don't worry, it's not as scary as it seems. Who is used when you're referring to the subject of a sentence, the person performing the action?
Okay, like who ate the last cookie? Who is the cookie monster in this case?
Exactly. Now, whom is used when referring to the object of a sentence, the person receiving the action.
So, to whom did you give the cookie?
Yes. Whom is receiving the cookie?
All right, I think I'm starting to get it. Who does the action? Whom receives the action?
You got it. And here's a helpful tip. If you can replace the word with he or she, use who. If you could replace it with him or her, use whom.
That's a great trick. I'll definitely remember that. Okay, what other word pairs are we going to conquer today?
Let's talk about emigrate versus immigrate.
Ooh, these two always sound so similar to me.
They do. Think of it this way. Emigrate is about leaving a country. E for exit.
Okay, emigrate is to exit a country.
When emigrate is to come into a country.
Ah, I see. M for into.
Exactly. So someone might emigrate from one country and immigrate to another.
Okay, I think I can remember that. Emigrate to leave. Immigrate to come in.
You're getting the hang of this. Ready for another one?
Bring it on.
Okay, let's tackle a pair that sounds almost identical, but has totally different meanings. Illicit versus illicit.
Ooh, I've definitely mixed these up before.
It's a common mistake. Illicit means illegal or forbidden. Think illicit activities.
Okay, illicit is bad news.
Right. And illicit means to draw out or evoke something.
So like the comedian's jokes elicited laughter from the audience.
Exactly. Illicit brings something out, while illicit is something that's hidden or prohibited.
Okay, I'm starting to see the difference. Illicit is good, illicit is bad.
You got it. What do you say we move on to a pair that's a bit more lighthearted?
I'm all for that.
Okay, how about desert versus dessert?
Ooh, this one makes me hungry.
Me too. But first, let's clear up the confusion. Desert is that dry, barren landscape.
Right, think camels and sand dunes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And dessert is that sweet treat you enjoy after a meal.
Okay, so desert is a place, and dessert is something you eat.
Precisely. And here's a little trick to remember the difference. Dessert has two S's, because you always want seconds.
That's a good one. I'll definitely remember that. Okay, what's next on our word pair menu?
How about we explore the difference between imply versus infer?
Ooh, these two are tricky. I always get them mixed up.
It's common confusion. Imply is what the speaker does. They suggest something indirectly or hint at something.
Okay, so like if I say, it's getting late with a big yawn, I'm implying that it's time for you to go.
Exactly. You're not directly saying it, but you're definitely hinting at it.
Subtle communication. And to infer is what the listener does.
Precisely. So in your example, I would infer from your yawn and your comment that it's time for me to head home.
The speaker implies and the listener infers. It's like a linguistic dance.
I like that. It's all about reading between the lines and understanding the subtle cues in communication.
This is fascinating. Okay, what's next on our word pair adventure?
How about historic versus historical?
Ooh, this one makes me think of history class. But I always get these two confused.
It's a common mistake. Think of historic as referring to something important or momentous in history, something that really made a mark.
Okay, so a historic event is a big deal, like a turning point in history.
Exactly. And historical simply means related to history or the past.
So a historical document could be anything from a peace treaty to a grocery list.
Exactly. Historical is more general. It just means something that happened in the past.
Got it. Historic is significant. Historical is from the past. Okay, hit me with another word, pair challenge.
All right, how about insure versus insure?
Ooh, I always think of insurance policies with these two.
That's a good connection. Insure is all about protecting against financial loss, like you insure your car or your house.
Okay, and insure means to make sure something will happen.
Precisely. You might ensure that the door is locked before you leave, or ensure that you have all the necessary documents for a meeting.
So insure is for financial protection, and insure is about guaranteeing something will happen.
You got it. What do you say we wrap up this part of our word pair exploration with one last challenge?
I'm game. Let's do it.
Okay, how about disinterested versus uninterested?
Ooh, I have a feeling I've been using these incorrectly.
A lot of people do. Disinterested means impartial or unbiased.
Okay, so a judge should be disinterested in a case, meaning they have no personal stake in the outcome.
Exactly. Now, uninterested simply means not interested or bored.
Ah, so I might be uninterested in watching a boring documentary.
Precisely. So disinterested is about neutrality, while uninterested is about lack of interest.
Got it. I'll definitely be more careful with those two from now on.
I'm impressed with your progress. You've really mastered a lot of these tricky word pairs.
Thanks. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm definitely feeling more confident about my language skills. All right, One Warriors, we're back for the final round of our deep dive into commonly misused words.
Are you ready to conquer some more tricky pairs?
Bring it on! My brain is warmed up and ready for the challenge.
Excellent. Let's jump right in with a pair that often causes confusion when it comes to giving and receiving guidance. Advice versus advice.
Ah, yes, the age-old dilemma of seeking wisdom versus offering it.
Precisely. Advice, with a C, is a noun. It's the guidance or recommendation offered to someone.
So, I need some advice on how to handle this tricky situation at work.
Perfect example. You're seeking guidance, so you need advice.
And advise, with an S, is the verb, the act of giving that guidance.
Exactly. You might say, my mentor advised me to take a deep breath and approach the problem calmly.
Okay, so advice is what we receive, and advise is what we give.
You've got it. Remember, advice is something you can take, while advise is something you do.
Got it. I'll try to keep those straight. What's next on our word pair battleground?
How about a pair that often causes confusion when it comes to locations of power and financial resources? Capital versus capital.
Ooh, this one makes me think of grand buildings and important decisions.
You're on the right track. Capital, with an al, has several meanings. It can refer to a city that serves as the seat of government.
Like Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States.
Exactly. Capital can also refer to wealth in the form of money or assets.
Like, I need more capital to start my own business.
Precisely. And capital can even refer to an uppercase letter.
Ah, so many meanings for one little word. Now, what about capital with an ol?
Capital with an ol refers specifically to a building where a legislature meets.
Like the United States Capitol building where Congress makes laws.
Exactly. So remember, capital is more general, while capital refers specifically to a government building.
Okay, I'll try to keep those grand buildings straight. What's next on our list of tricky duos?
How about a pair that's all about being together or being complete? All together versus all together.
Ooh, this one always makes me think of group hugs and finishing a big project.
I love those images. All together, as two words, means in a group or collectively.
So let's sing happy birthday all together.
Perfect. You're all singing as one group.
And all together as one word means completely or entirely.
Exactly. Like, I'm altogether exhausted after that word pair marathon.
I can relate to that. So all together means in a group, and all together means completely. Got it.
You're a word pair whiz.
Yeah.
What do you say we tackle one more tricky pair before we wrap up our deep dive?
Absolutely. I'm feeling unstoppable.
Okay, how about a pair that's all about giving reassurance and making things certain? Ashore versus inshore.
Ooh, these two sound very similar, but I know they have distinct meanings.
They do. Ashore, with an S, means to make someone feel confident or certain about something.
So I assure you that everything will be fine.
Exactly. You're easing their worries and giving them confidence.
And ensure with an N means to make certain that something will happen.
Precisely. You might say, Please ensure that you lock the door before you leave.
Ah, so assure is about giving someone confidence, and ensure is about making something certain to happen.
You've got it. Assure calms the mind, while ensure guarantees an outcome.
I love how these subtle distinctions can make such a big difference in our communication.
It's amazing, isn't it, the power of words?
This deep dive has been an incredible journey. We've explored so many tricky word pairs, uncovered hidden meanings, and sharpened our language skills along the way.
It's been a pleasure sharing these linguistic adventures with you.
I'm feeling so much more confident about my word choices now.
That's what we love to hear. And remember, language is constantly evolving, so the journey of learning never really ends.
Absolutely. So to all you fellow word nerds out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep playing with the amazing power of words. Until next time, happy wordsmithing.
All right, so we're diving deep today, folks, into this, well, it's like a slang dictionary.
Ah, yes. A whole guide to the secret language of, well, modern English.
Which can get pretty wild, right?
Like there.
Trying to keep up with all the new words and phrases.
Exactly. And it changes so fast. Like one day you're in the loop and the next you're totally lost.
Right. So that's why you're here to help us decode it all.
Well, I'll do my best, not just the words themselves, but like what they tell us about, how people communicate these days.
Okay, so our slang dictionary, it's broken down to these different categories, like general slang, internet slang, relationships, even work slang.
Seems pretty thorough. And it looks like in this general section, there are words like lit, chill, vibe, and goat.
Yeah, I feel like those are pretty common, right? Like I hear those words all the time.
Definitely. But I think there's more to them than just being, trendy.
For sure. So like what makes those words so popular?
Well, think about it. Lit and chill are short, right? Impactful. They get the feeling across really quickly.
Yeah, that's true. It's like instead of saying that party was incredibly exciting and energetic, you can just say that party was lit.
Exactly. And chill, it suggests like a relaxed, easygoing vibe.
Which I guess a lot of people are looking for these days.
Probably. Especially in a world that feels, kind of hectic and stressful.
And then vibe, it's like everything has a vibe now. A place, a song, a person.
Right. And it's funny because it's almost like we've outsourced our descriptive vocabulary to just this one word,
Yeah, it's totally. It's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's got a good vibe.
Yeah, it's like a shortcut to expressing a complex feeling without having to actually, articulate it.
Interesting. And then GOAT, greatest of all time.
Yeah. I feel like that one really shows how, internet culture has infiltrated our everyday language.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like it's not just about sports anymore.
Right. It's become a way to celebrate things, to declare them exceptional, put them on a pedestal.
Yeah, like your favorite pizza place could be the joke.
Exactly. And I think there's something very, very human about that, about wanting to elevate the things we love,
For sure. So I guess the question for our listeners is which of these general slang terms resonate with you?
And which ones make you cringe? Because, that tells you something too. It shows how slang is subjective and constantly changing.
Okay, so speaking of change, I think it's time to move on to a realm where slang evolves at warp speed, the internet.
Oh, yeah, buckle up. That's a whole other level of linguistic creativity.
Right. It's like the internet has its own secret language, and if you don't know the code...
Well, you're going to be left wondering, what are they even talking about?
Exactly. And I feel like the need to be brief,
yeah,
quick, definitely plays a role in how fast internet slang changes.
Oh, absolutely. But let's dive into some examples from your slang dictionary. It mentions LOL, FOMO, slay, throw shade, and AF. Lot to unpack there.
Yeah, just reading those words, I can practically hear the keyboard clicks and see the memes flying by.
Right. It's a whole world. But let's start with LOL, laughing out loud.
Oh, LOL. Yeah. I feel like that one has taken on a life of its own online.
For sure. It might have started as, literally laughing out loud, but it's definitely become more nuanced.
Oh, yeah. Now it can mean amusement, agreement, even just acknowledging something.
Right. Sometimes it's less about actual laughter and more about just navigating social interactions online.
It's almost become its own form of punctuation.
Exactly. It's like a way of saying, I get it. I'm with you, even if you're not actually cracking up.
Okay. And then there's FOMO, fear of missing out.
Ah, yes. That quintessential anxiety of the digital age.
Right. That feeling of everyone else is having more fun than me.
Which, let's be honest, is often fueled by, perfectly curated social media feeds.
So true. And I think FOMO perfectly captures that feeling of inadequacy or being left out.
Totally. And it highlights something interesting, right? Slang often reflects not just our experiences, but also our anxieties.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like language mirroring our inner fears and desires.
Right. And speaking of desires, what about slay?
Oh, yeah, slay. That one's all about, like, confidence and achievement,
And
right?
it's like, you totally nailed it or you killed it, but like with more swagger.
It's aspirational, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, we all want to slay.
Definitely. And in a world where we're constantly comparing ourselves to others online, that validation can feel, really powerful.
Okay, but then we go to throw shade, which it's like a whole different vibe.
A little bit darker, right. A little bit more, shady.
Because it's not just about criticizing someone, it's about doing it indirectly.
Yeah, the art of the subtle dig.
Which is so interesting because it shows how conflict plays out online.
Yeah.
Where direct confrontation is often avoided.
Right. It's all about implication and innuendo.
Okay, speaking of online miscommunication, I have a confession.
Oh, do tell.
Okay, so one time someone online said they were shook, and I thought they were talking about, like, cooking. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show how context matters so much with slang.
It really does. What might be clear in one online community could be totally baffling in another.
Right. So it's always good to double check if you're not sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and last but not least, we have AF, as in,
Yeah, AF.
Yeah.
Is there even anything to analyze there? It just amplifies everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, yes, it's all about emphasis, turning the volume up to 11.
Like the linguistic equivalent of using all caps.
Exactly. But I think it also speaks to our need to express intense emotions online, to break free from the limitations of language.
So it's like this feeling is so big, I need extra strong words.
Exactly. So we've covered some of the most common slang terms, but we've also, I think, uncovered something deeper, how these seemingly simple words actually offer these insights into who we are,
Yeah. Our values, anxieties, and even our desire to connect.
Absolutely. And it's just the beginning. From the internet, our slang journey is taking us to, another area rife with linguistic creativity, the world of relationships.
Ooh, yes. Things are about to get personal.
Buckle up, because relationship slang is a whole other roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, relationships. I mean, they can be complicated enough without adding a whole new layer of slang on top of it all.
Right. And our slang dictionary really dives into all the different nuances of modern dating.
It does. And it's interesting to me how a lot of these terms, they reflect the anxieties that people feel,
Oh, totally. Like take ghosting, for example. It's become so common, but it's still pretty brutal.
It is. And it's kind of become this accepted way of ending things, which is a little bit troubling.
Yeah. Like, why do you think ghosting has become so prevalent?
I mean, part of it is definitely technology, right? It's so easy to just disappear when you're interacting through a screen.
Yeah, that makes sense. But do you think it's also like a sign of something deeper?
Maybe. Like a fear of confrontation or a lack of, emotional maturity.
It's tough to say. But then there's benching, which, I don't know, it almost feels worse.
Oh, benching. Yeah, that one's rough.
It's like being stuck in this weird limbo,
Mm-hmm.
You're not quite in the relationship, but you're not completely out of it either.
Right. And it's so common now with, dating apps and social media. People have so many options, so they're hesitant to fully commit.
It's like they're keeping their options open just in case something better comes along.
Exactly. Which I guess speaks to a certain fear of missing out, right?
Totally. And maybe even a fear of vulnerability.
Right. It's interesting how all these slang terms, they can reveal so much about, how people approach love and relationships.
For sure. Okay. But it's not all doom and gloom in the relationship section. There's some cuter terms in there too.
Well, yeah, like lay and ship. Those are fun.
Right. Bae is just a sweet way of referring to your significant other, but ship, that one really shows how much we get invested in other people's relationships.
Especially online. Like, we're all about shipping our favorite celebrity couples.
Like, we're rooting for them to succeed,
Yeah.
We want to see their love story play out.
And there's something kind of sweet about that, right? Like, it's this shared desire for love and happiness.
It is. Okay, but let's shift gears for a moment and talk about another area of life where slang is super prevalent. The workplace.
Oh, yeah. The workplace. That's a whole other linguistic landscape.
Right. Our slang dictionary has a whole section dedicated to the language of like hustle, ambition, and of course, the dreaded dead-end job.
Kind of makes sense. I mean, work is such a big part of our lives, so naturally it's going to have its own set of slang terms.
Totally. And I feel like a lot of these terms reflect the changing nature of work these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Like take hustle, for example. It's become more than just a verb. It's like a way of life.
Right. It's all about like working hard, being ambitious, creating your own opportunities.
And it can be inspiring, you know?
Yeah.
But it also speaks to the anxieties that a lot of people feel about job security and financial stability.
Yeah, in a world where like the traditional 9-to-5 job is becoming less common, people feel like they have to hustle to get ahead.
For sure. And the rise of the side hustle is a perfect example of that.
Oh, yeah. It's like everyone has a side hustle these days.
It's true. And it makes sense, right? People are looking for ways to supplement their income, to be more independent, to have more flexibility.
And then on the flip side, you have the dead-end job.
Ugh, yeah, those are the worst.
It's like that feeling of being stuck, you know, of not having any opportunities for growth or advancement.
Which I think speaks to a larger societal issue, right? About the lack of fulfilling and well-paying jobs for a lot of people.
So it's interesting how work slang can be both like aspirational and kind of depressing at the same time.
It's true. It reflects the complexities of the modern work experience, the hopes, the fears, the struggles.
Yeah, it's all in there. Okay, so for our listeners who are navigating the world of work, what do you think they should keep in mind about slang?
Well, I think it's important to be aware of the different connotations that words can have.
Right, because what might be considered like positive in one workplace culture could be seen as negative in another.
Exactly. So it's always good to pay attention to the context and to ask questions if you're not sure.
Okay, so we've covered general slang, internet slang, and even work slang. But there's one more category in our slang dictionary that I think is particularly fun.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It's the wild card round. It's all the terms that didn't quite fit into the other categories but are still super interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of words are we talking about? I'm intrigued. What kind of words are we talking about?
So we've got words like bougie, extra, mood, and glow up.
Ooh, those are good ones. They definitely capture a certain energy, you know?
Right. They're playful, expressive, and very much of the moment.
I'm particularly interested in bougie. It's become so popular, but it's a tricky one to define.
It is, because it could be both aspirational and kind of ironic at the same time.
Exactly. Like it's acknowledging a love of luxury and maybe a little bit of showing off.
Not in a totally serious way, right? It's like, yeah, I like nice things, but I also know it's a little bit extra.
Exactly. It's that self-awareness that makes it so interesting.
Okay, and then extra. I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yeah, it's all about being dramatic, over the top, you know, just extra.
And we can't forget about mood. Everything is a mood these days.
I know. It's become this like universal way of expressing how you're feeling.
Right. And it's so versatile. Like you can have a song that's a mood, a picture that's a mood, even a whole situation can be a mood.
It's true. And I think it speaks to our need for connection and relatability.
Totally. Like when you say that's such a mood, you're basically saying, I get it, I feel that too.
Exactly. Okay, and last but not least, we have glow up.
Yes, the glow up. That's all about like transformation and self-improvement.
Right. It's that amazing feeling of leveling up in life.
Like you've come a long way, baby.
Exactly. And it can be physical, mental, emotional, you know, it's all encompassing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the wild world of slang, I have to ask, what are your overall thoughts? I mean, we've covered so much ground from everyday slang to internet slang, relationships, work, everything.
It's been quite a journey, and I think the biggest takeaway for me is just how much slang reveals about us as a society, you know, our values, our anxieties, things we care about.
Like a linguistic snapshot of a particular moment in time.
Exactly, and it's constantly changing, evolving, reflecting the world around us.
So for our listeners, I guess the final thought I would leave you with is this. What does your use of slang say about you?
Yeah, pay attention to the words you choose, the way you use them, the way they make you feel. Because slang is ultimately a form of self-expression.
It's a way of connecting with others, of signaling who you are, and of navigating this ever-changing world.
And remember, language is powerful, so use it wisely, use it playfully, and never stop exploring its possibilities.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive for today.
But the conversation doesn't have to end here. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep those slang dictionaries handy.
Because who knows what new words and phrases will pop up tomorrow. Until next time, happy slanging. Ready to unlock a world of adventures.
It's fun.
Today, we're diving deep into essential travel phrases.
Yeah.
You've sent us a script for a video with 20 key phrases.
Okay.
Our mission: to figure out why they're so powerful and how you can use them to make your travels smoother and way more fun.
Awesome. What's fascinating is that language isn't just about words, it's a bridge to understanding different cultures.
Right.
Even a handful of phrases can completely change your travel experience.
Let's start with, can you help me? It seems simple, but I bet there's more to it than meets the eye.
You're absolutely right. It's more than just asking for help. It's an invitation to connect with locals and tap into their knowledge. Think of it as a secret handshake to unlock insider tips and hidden gems you wouldn't find in a guidebook.
Like that time I was in Rome and completely lost trying to find this tiny trattoria.
Oh, yeah.
I finally asked a local for help and ended up having the best meal of my entire trip.
Wow.
It wasn't even on any of the tourist maps.
Exactly. And that brings us to, where is the nearest? This phrase is your key to navigating unfamiliar surroundings.
Okay.
But it's also about going beyond the tourist tracks and discovering those authentic local experiences.
Makes sense. Now, for a phrase that's crucial for navigating the world of bartering and marketplaces, how much does this cost? It's not just about getting a fair price, is it?
Not at all. In many cultures, haggling is an art form, a way to build rapport and show respect. This phrase opens the door to that cultural dance.
So it's less about being aggressive and more about engaging in a friendly back and forth.
Precisely. It's about understanding the nuances of nonverbal communication, reading the seller's cues, and finding a price that works for both of you.
That's so interesting. It's like a whole new level of communication. What about when you're really struggling to understand, do you speak English? Seems like a good starting point.
It is, but don't underestimate the power of nonverbal communication. Even if someone doesn't speak English, a smile and a genuine attempt to connect can go a long way.
I found that even just trying to learn a few basic greetings in the local language can break the ice and show you're making an effort.
Definitely.
Speaking of effort, sometimes things get lost in translation. How important is it to say, I don't understand?
It's crucial. Faking understanding can lead to bigger misunderstandings down the road.
Right.
It's much better to politely admit you need clarification. Think of it as a safety net, ensuring you're both on the same page.
And it shows you're genuinely engaged in the conversation. Of course. Can you repeat that, please? Helps with that, too. Especially with unfamiliar accents.
Absolutely. Don't hesitate to ask for repetition. Or even try to break down the phrase into smaller parts.
Now, switching gears a bit, what time is it? Seems pretty straightforward, but I imagine there are cultural nuances there, too.
You're right. Different cultures have different perceptions of time and punctuality. What might be considered fashionably late in one place could be a major faux pas in another. This phrase helps you navigate those expectations.
It's about being respectful of local customs. Speaking of customs, let's talk about food. I'd like to order is how we unlock delicious culinary adventures.
It's your passport to exploring local flavors and discovering new dishes.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions about the ingredients or preparation.
It's like having a culinary conversation. And since I'm not a fan of overly spicy food, is this spicy? Is a lifesaver for me. I imagine it's helpful even for people who can handle the heat.
It's a great way to gauge the intensity of flavors in any cuisine. Food is such a personal experience, and this phrase helps you tailor that experience to your liking.
So it's about respecting your own palate, as well as the culinary traditions of the place you're visiting. Once you've enjoyed your meal, it's time to wrap things up. Can I have the bill, please? Seems simple enough, but I'm guessing there are cultural variations here, too.
You're catching on. The way you ask for the bill, who pays, and whether or not tipping is customary can vary significantly.
Right.
Observing how locals handle these situations is always a good idea.
All right, so we've covered some phrases for getting help, navigating basic communication, and even ordering food. Now, how about getting around? Where can I buy tickets is a good place to start.
This phrase is your gateway to transportation systems, cultural attractions, and even local events.
Cool.
It's a chance to tap into the pulse of the city and discover hidden gems.
And speaking of getting around, how do I get to? is essential for navigating unfamiliar territory. But it's more than just asking for directions, isn't it?
It's an opportunity to engage with locals, get their perspective on the best routes, and maybe even learn a bit of local history or lore along the way. Think of it as a mini adventure within your larger journey.
I love that. We've covered a lot of ground here, and I'm already feeling more confident about navigating my next trip.
Me too.
But before we dive into the remaining phrases, what are your thoughts so far? Any particular favorites or ones that spark your curiosity?
Well, it's amazing how these seemingly simple phrases can unlock so much more than just basic communication. They're tools for connection, cultural exchange, and even personal growth.
Absolutely. And speaking of connection, in today's digital age, what's the Wi-Fi password is practically essential.
Right.
But I'm curious, beyond the practicalities, what does this constant need for connectivity say about our travel experiences?
That's an interesting question. On one hand, Wi-Fi keeps us connected, provides access to information, and allows us to share our experiences instantly.
I see.
But it also raises questions about our ability to be present in the moment and truly immerse ourselves in new environments.
You've got me thinking. Maybe there's a balance to strike between staying connected and unplugging to fully absorb the experience. Okay, back to the phrases. Can I see the menu, please?
Seems straightforward enough.
It is, but think of it as more than just a list of dishes.
Yeah.
It's a window into the culinary soul of a place. The way a menu is presented, the descriptions used, the emphasis on certain ingredients, it all tells a story about the local culture and its relationship with food.
You know, you're right. I remember this amazing little cafe in Paris where the menu was handwritten on a chalkboard and changed daily based on what was fresh at the market.
Oh, wow.
It felt so personal and authentic.
Exactly. It's those details that create a richer travel experience.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to actually paying for those delicious meals, do you take credit cards? Is a key question.
Especially in a world where cash is becoming less common, but I'm guessing this varies greatly from place to place.
Absolutely. While credit cards are widely accepted in many urban areas, there are still places, especially in more rural or traditional communities, where cash is king. It's always wise to have some local currency on hand, just in case.
It's about being prepared and adaptable. Now, hopefully you won't need this next phrase, but it's good to be prepared. I need a doctor. It's pretty straightforward. But are there any nuances to keep in mind when communicating a medical need in a foreign country?
Yes, absolutely. It's helpful to have a basic understanding of the local healthcare system.
Okay.
Are there specific phrases for describing symptoms?
Right.
Are there any cultural taboos related to discussing illness? These are things you might want to research before you go.
It's all about being proactive and informed, especially when it comes to your health and safety. And speaking of safety, is it safe too, is a phrase that allows you to assess potential risks.
Right.
But how can you ask this question in a way that's culturally sensitive and respectful?
It's about phrasing the question in a way that seeks information rather than expressing judgment.
Okay.
Instead of asking, is this neighborhood safe? You might ask, what are some things I should be aware of when exploring this area?
That's a great tip. It's about showing that you're open to learning and respecting local perspectives. Okay, let's shift gears to something a bit lighter. Can you take a photo of Matthias? This seemingly simple request can actually lead to some interesting interactions, right?
It's a wonderful way to connect with locals and create a shared moment.
Yeah.
You might even get some unexpected photography tips or recommendations for hidden photo spots. I once had a local in Vietnam insist on taking my photo with his motorbike. It was totally unexpected, but it made for a hilarious and memorable photo. Speaking of memorable experiences, what's the best way to get to is more than just about finding the fastest route.
Precisely. It's about understanding the local transportation landscape and the unique rhythms of a place. Sometimes the journey itself can be as enriching as the destination.
You know, you're making me rethink my whole approach to travel. It's not just about checking things off a list, but about slowing down, observing, and embracing the unexpected.
That's the heart of it. And sometimes those unexpected moments lead to the most memorable stories.
Like the time I got completely lost in the back streets of Tokyo and stumbled upon this amazing hidden garden. I was supposed to be at a museum, but getting lost turned out to be the highlight of my day.
Perfect example. And that brings us to our final phrase, the one we all hope to avoid but need to know just in case. I'm lost.
Okay, so beyond the obvious practical use, what are some of the less obvious benefits of admitting you're lost?
Well, getting lost can be a humbling experience. It forces you to rely on others. to step outside your comfort zone and to embrace the unknown. And you never know what unexpected adventures might unfold when you stray from the beaten path.
I've definitely found that to be true.
Yeah.
Getting lost has often led me to some of my most treasured travel discoveries.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, exploring 20 essential travel phrases and uncovering the layers of cultural meaning and potential for connection that lie beneath the surface. What are your final thoughts before we wrap up?
It's amazing how these phrases have gone from simple words to tools for deeper travel experiences. We've talked about asking for help, navigating cultural norms, even the art of getting lost.
And we've only scratched the surface.
Right.
The beauty of languages is that it's constantly evolving. There's always more to learn, new ways to connect, and fresh perspectives to gain.
Absolutely.
That's what makes travel so exciting.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to shift the focus to you, the listener.
Which of these 20 phrases resonated with you the most? Have you had any travel experiences where knowing a key phrase made all the difference?
Right.
We'd love to hear your stories and insights.
Because ultimately, the best travel advice comes from shared experiences. It's about learning from each other, building a community of curious explorers, and inspiring one another to embrace the world with open hearts and open minds.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as you pack your bags for your next adventure, remember that language is more than just words. It's a bridge to understanding, a tool for connection, and a passport to a world of incredible experiences.
Safe travels. And may your journeys be filled with meaningful conversations and unexpected discoveries.
All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive into business English.
Okay.
But not just like your basic vocabulary and definitions. We're going to kind of go a little bit deeper into like how language can actually completely transform your presence in like any professional setting.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about that is that we tend to focus so much on like the technical aspects of language, grammar and vocabulary, all that stuff. But we kind of forget about the psychological impact of the words we choose. It's like having a secret code almost that can influence, how people perceive us and how they respond to our ideas. And ultimately how we can really, effectively navigate the world of business.
Okay, so not just about sounding smart or professional.
Right.
But using language strategically to like get what you want.
Exactly. Like think about it. Every phrase, every word is like a little signal. It conveys more than just the surface meaning.
Okay, I like that. So you've got a script here with 20 powerful business English phrases. So what are some of the first ones that can help us make a strong first impression?
Well, right out of the gate, we have, let's get started.
Seems simple, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually a really good way to subtly establish leadership. Taking initiative to kick things off, you're signaling confidence and a proactive mindset.
I can see that. But doesn't it also depend on like the context? Like if you're in a meeting with your boss, maybe you want to let them take the lead.
Yeah, for sure. Adaptability is key.
Yeah.
Let's get started is perfect for situations where you're expected to take charge. Or, like you said, if you want to like inject some energy into a conversation that's stalled.
But reading the room is important.
Always.
Okay, so it's not just about memorizing the phrases. It's about understanding like the nuances of when and how to use them.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, so we have, I'd like to introduce Handy. Now, this might seem like basic courtesy, but it's actually a little deeper than that. When you take the time to introduce people, you're showing respect for them and acknowledging their presence. And this can really foster a more inclusive and collaborative atmosphere right from the start.
Yeah, it's funny how something so simple can have such a big impact on the whole dynamic.
Okay, I'm starting to see the power of these phrases.
And then there's, can we schedule a meeting? Again, this might seem obvious, but think about it. What's the alternative? Popping into someone's office or, sending a bunch of emails back and forth.
Right.
But formally requesting a meeting shows respect for their time, and it shows that you're organized.
Okay, I'm definitely guilty of the, popping in. I can see how that can come across as, disorganized or even disrespectful, especially for people who really value structure
Totally.
and clear communication.
Yeah, and, everyone's so busy these days, so, valuing people's time is a huge asset.
Okay, so we've talked about those first few phrases, setting the tone and, creating that positive first impression. But what about when you're in the middle of a discussion and things are getting a little bit heated or, going off topic? What are some phrases that can help navigate those situations?
Well, one of my favorites is, let's circle back to that. It's just a really nice way to kind of steer the conversation back on track without, being confrontational or dismissive. You're acknowledging what the other person is saying, but signaling that it's not the priority right now.
Right. Okay. That's much better than saying we're getting sidetracked. But is there a risk that the person will feel like their idea is being ignored?
Yeah, that's where, active listening is really important. You don't want to just say the phrase and move on, make a mental note to come back to it, or even suggest a specific time to discuss it. It shows them that you value what they're saying, even if it's not the focus right this second.
So it's like you're balancing acknowledging their idea, but also maintaining control of the conversation, but making sure that everyone feels heard.
Exactly.
It's like a little dance.
It is. Okay, what else?
Okay, so then we have, could you clarify that? This one's all about clear communication, which is so important in any professional setting.
For sure.
By asking for clarification, you're not only making sure that you understand, but you're also prompting them to articulate their thoughts more clearly.
Yeah, because sometimes you think you understand what someone means, but then when you ask for clarification, it can reveal these hidden nuances, or even prevent misunderstandings later on.
Exactly. And especially in business where decisions have big consequences, clarity is crucial.
Yeah, it could be the difference between a successful project and, a big mistake.
Huge.
Okay, so we've covered setting the tone, protecting everyone's time, steering the conversation back on track, and making sure that everyone's communicating clearly. What's next?
So welcome back to our deep dive into, the power of language and business English.
Okay, so before we move on to the next set of phrases, I think it's interesting that you mentioned empathy. I usually think about empathy in terms of personal relationships, not really in the workplace.
Yeah, that's a pretty common misconception, actually. But, even in a professional setting, you're dealing with people who have, their own motivations and perspectives and even insecurities. So when you tap into that empathy, you can really create a more understanding and collaborative environment.
Okay, I'm curious, how does empathy translate to practical communication skills?
Well, it starts with, really listening and trying to understand where the other person is coming from. But it also goes beyond that. It's like reading between the lines, picking up on nonverbal cues, and just being sensitive to their emotional state.
So it's not just what they're saying, it's how they're saying it.
Exactly. Imagine you're in a team meeting and someone seems a little hesitant to share their ideas. Instead of just saying, "What do you think?" you could say something like, "I sense you might have some thoughts on this. We'd love to hear your perspective."
Yeah, that's a good example. It's you're acknowledging their hesitation and creating a safe space for them to contribute.
Exactly. And that's how empathy can really, help build trust and rapport. When people feel heard and understood, they're more likely to open up and share their ideas, and it just creates a more positive and productive work environment.
Okay, so empathy is the secret ingredient.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's get back to our list of power phrases.
Yeah.
We've covered first impressions and navigating discussions. What about the phrases that can help us keep things moving and make sure everyone's on the same page?
Okay, well, a classic one is "I'll follow up with you."
Okay.
Now, it might seem like just a simple courtesy, but it's actually a really powerful way to show accountability. When you say that, you're not only reassuring the person that you've heard their concern, but you're also committing to taking action.
Oh, I never thought about it that way. But you're right. It's like turning a vague promise into a concrete commitment.
Yeah, and in business, trust and reliability are so important.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, what's another phrase that falls under this category?
So we have "let's touch base." It's just a nice way to maintain momentum on a project without being too formal or demanding. It just implies an open line of communication.
I use that one all the time.
Yeah.
But I guess it's more than just a casual check-in. It's about, fostering a sense of collaboration and shared responsibility.
Exactly. It's about creating a dynamic where everyone feels comfortable communicating updates and, working together.
Okay, so we've talked about following up and touching base. What about keeping people informed? Sometimes it's easy to get siloed or people feel left out of the loop.
Yeah, for sure. That's where a phrase like "I'll keep you in the loop" can be really useful. It's simple, but it's effective. You're demonstrating transparency and making sure that everyone feels included.
But is there a risk of over-communicating? Do I really need to keep everyone updated on every single detail?
Yeah, that's where using your judgment comes in. It's about finding a balance between keeping people informed without overwhelming them with too much information.
So be strategic and intentional.
Exactly.
Not just copying everyone on every email.
Right. It's about respecting people's time and attention.
Okay, we're making good progress here.
Yeah.
We've covered first impressions, navigating discussions, and staying on top of things. What's next?
Okay, so now we're moving into the area of collaboration and teamwork.
Okay.
This is where phrases like "what's the timeline" become really important. It's about setting clear expectations and making sure everyone's on the same page about deadlines.
I like that it's straightforward.
Yeah.
Gets right to the point.
And then we have phrases like, "That's a great point," and "I appreciate your input." Now, these might seem like simple pleasantries, but they're actually really important for creating a positive team environment.
Yeah, you're acknowledging their contribution and validating their ideas.
Exactly. It's about creating a space where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts,
Without being judged.
Right.
I've definitely been in meetings where people are like afraid to speak up
Yeah.
because they don't want to be like shut down.
It makes a big difference.
Okay, what else?
So then we have, "Let's table this for now." This is a great way to acknowledge an idea without letting it completely derail the conversation.
Right, the art of the gentle deferral.
Yeah, I like that.
So many meetings get sidetracked.
Totally.
By like one little tangent.
Exactly. And this is a way to say, "We hear you, but let's stay focused."
Okay, I'm liking these insights.
And to round out this section on collaboration, we have, "How can I assist you?"
Okay.
This might seem basic, but it's actually a really powerful way to demonstrate teamwork and support.
Yeah, it's more than just offering help. It's like expressing a willingness to contribute to the team's success.
Exactly. It's about fostering a culture of mutual support where everyone feels comfortable, asking for help and offering their expertise.
Okay, so we've covered setting a positive tone, navigating discussions, staying organized, and collaborating effectively. What's next?
Okay, so now we're moving into the realm of decision-making, action, and leadership.
Yep.
These are the phrases that can really help you drive projects forward and inspire your team to achieve their goals.
Okay, I'm ready for this. But I think we're going to need a little more time to dive into these phrases.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's just save that for the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back to explore how to use language to inspire action, drive results, and unleash your inner leader. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into business English. And we're talking about how to use language to really inspire action and drive results and unleash our, inner leaders.
Exactly.
So we've unpacked a lot already. But I think this last set of phrases is where it gets really interesting.
You're right. These final phrases are all about moving from discussion to decision-making and from ideas to action.
Okay, I'm ready.
So let's start with, "We need to align on this."
Okay.
This phrase is all about achieving consensus, making sure everyone's moving in the same direction. It's particularly effective when you're facing a complex decision or when there are differing opinions.
Okay, so it's more collaborative than just dictating a decision.
Exactly.
It's more inclusive.
Yeah, you're inviting everyone to participate in the decision-making process.
Right. And that makes people feel more ownership of the outcome.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we need to align on this. It's about getting everyone on the same page. What's next?
Okay, so next we have, "Let's prioritize."
Okay.
This is about, focusing your energy on the most important tasks.
Right, because it's easy to get bogged down
Totally.
in a million little things.
Especially in a fast-paced business environment.
Yeah.
But this phrase helps you cut through the noise and stay focused on what really matters.
I like it. It's like a mental decluttering tool for your to-do list.
I like that.
It forces you to say no to the things that aren't essential.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got alignment, we've got prioritization.
Yeah.
What other phrases can help us move from talking to doing?
Okay, well, I'd like to emphasize, this is a really good way to draw attention to certain points and make sure they don't get lost.
Okay.
It's particularly useful when you're presenting or leading a discussion or giving feedback.
Oh, it's like a verbal highlighter?
Yeah.
It's like, pay attention. This is important.
Exactly.
Cool. What's next?
Okay, we have, "Can you provide an update?" This one is all about accountability and making sure that projects stay on track.
Okay.
It's a really simple way to request progress reports, gather information, and keep everyone in the loop.
I use that one all the time.
Yeah,
But I guess it's more than just asking for information.
it is.
It's about setting expectations and keeping things moving.
Exactly. And it helps everyone feel accountable for their part of the project.
Okay, so we've covered alignment, prioritization, emphasis, and accountability. What other phrases can help us really inspire action?
Okay, well, there's that classic, "We need to think outside the box." I know it's a bit overused, but the sentiment behind it is still really important.
Right.
It's about encouraging creativity, challenging assumptions, and exploring new possibilities.
I admit I kind of roll my eyes when I hear that sometimes.
Yeah,
But you're right, it's about the intention. It's about pushing ourselves to be more innovative.
exactly.
Okay, what else?
And finally, we have, "Let's move forward with this plan." This one is all about decisiveness and taking action.
Okay.
It signals that the decision has been made and it's time to get things moving.
It's like a call to action.
Exactly.
All right, we've covered so much today. It's amazing how much power these little phrases have.
I know. It's pretty cool, right?
It's like you've given us a secret decoder ring for business success.
I like that.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final question you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Okay, think about this. Beyond these specific phrases, what personal qualities do you think contribute to effective communication? Is it confidence, empathy, active listening?
Ooh, that's good.
Cultivating those qualities can really make you a more impactful communicator.
Yeah, because communication's about so much more than just the words, right? It's about connecting with people and building trust and inspiring action.
Exactly.
So keep practicing and keep refining your communication style. And keep striving to connect with people in meaningful and authentic ways. Until next time, go out there and communicate like a pro. All right, let's dive in. We're taking a look at something pretty fundamental today. Basic English greetings.
Yeah.
You actually sent in a script for a language learning video.
Yeah.
Which I think is a super interesting way to think about how we use these phrases, even the ones that seem really simple.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, greetings are interesting because they can be very simple on the surface.
Right.
But there's so much more to them. You know, there's all this cultural context and social nuance that we bring to them.
Yeah. I'm excited to kind of unpack that. So your script actually starts with hello, which seems like the most, kind of universal greeting.
You're right. Hello is something that can be used in almost any situation, whether it's formal or informal. But even though it's versatile, there are some subtle differences in how we use it.
I'm curious about those. What kind of nuances are we talking about here?
Well, if you think about hello compared to hi, your script puts those right next to each other.
Right.
And hello is kind of like the more formal, always appropriate greeting.
Okay.
Like a handshake.
Gotcha.
But hi is a little bit friendlier, a bit more relaxed, more casual.
Oh, hi is more like a fist bump then.
Exactly. Yeah. And you wouldn't really fist bump your boss at a meeting, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how it works with these greetings.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy to kind of make sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your script also has these time-specific greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I've always wondered about these. Are they actually necessary, or can you just use hello for all of them?
I think hello is like the basic greeting, the basic courtesy.
Okay.
But using those time-specific greetings shows that you're, aware of the time of day and the social situation.
Right.
And it's not essential, but it can make a good impression.
So it's almost like you're saying, I'm not just greeting you, I'm also acknowledging the time that we're sharing together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in some cultures, it's really important to use the right greeting for the time of day.
Right.
It shows that you understand and respect their social norms.
That makes sense. So now let's move on to how are you? I feel like I use this phrase all the time, but honestly, I'm usually not really looking for a detailed answer. It's more of a habit than a genuine question.
You've touched on something really important. How are you has kind of become a social ritual. It's less about, finding out how someone is actually feeling.
Right.
And more about just acknowledging them.
So how do we respond to this ritual? Your script gives a few standard responses like, I'm fine, thank you, and you.
Oh.
Or I'm doing well, thanks. Are those the best ways to respond?
Yeah, those are great responses. They keep the conversation flowing without getting too personal.
Right.
You acknowledge the question, give a brief positive answer, and then politely turn the question back to the other person.
It's amazing how much we can pack into these simple phrases. It's like a little secret code.
It really is. And speaking of codes, let's look at what's up. Is this really a genuine question, or is it just a casual greeting?
I feel like what's up is something you hear in movies and TV shows a lot, like a group of friends hanging out. Is it actually that common in everyday conversation?
Oh, it definitely is, especially among friends or peers. Yeah. But it's not really an invitation to give a long, detailed answer. It's more like a quick check-in, like, hey, what's going on?
So if someone asks me, what's up, I shouldn't launch into a story about my day.
Right, unless they specifically ask for more details.
Okay.
The script suggests some casual replies like, not much, or just hanging out.
Yep.
Those keep things light and informal.
So it's kind of like, what's up, comes in, says hello, and then flies away.
I like that analogy. It really captures the essence of it. It's about connecting, not necessarily having a deep conversation.
Okay, so we've covered hello, hi, the time-specific greetings, how are you, and what's up. Your script also includes nice to meet you and long time no see. Those seem pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing there's more to them than meets the eye.
You're right. I mean, nice to meet you might seem obvious, but it really signals a first-time interaction.
Right.
It's like the formal way to introduce yourself.
And long time no see
Yeah.
means you've met the person before.
Yeah, exactly. It acknowledges that you have some shared history, even if it's just a brief encounter.
Okay.
And it often leads to a conversation about what's happened since you last saw each other.
So long time no see is more than just a greeting. It's a way to reconnect.
That's a great way to put it. It's like an invitation to catch up.
That's really insightful. Okay, the last phrase on your script is, how's it going? We already talked about how are you. How is this one different?
How's it going is a little more informal. And it can be about more things than just how someone is feeling.
Okay.
Like, how are you is usually about their health or well-being.
Right.
But how's it going can be about work or life or just their general mood.
So how's it going? It's kind of like giving them more options.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're inviting them to share, but without putting too much pressure on them.
This is really making me think about all these little differences.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. So your script explains all these greetings really well. I mean, it gives examples and everything. But I wonder, are there any common mistakes people make when using them? Even native English speakers?
Oh, all the time.
Really?
Like sometimes people use a greeting that's too formal for the situation.
Like saying good evening at a lunch with friends.
Exactly. Or using what's up in a job interview.
Oh, yeah. That wouldn't go over well.
No, not at all. And another common mistake is forgetting to reciprocate.
What do you mean?
Like, even if how are you is more of a formality,
Right.
it's still polite to respond and ask the other person how they are.
So it's like an unspoken rule. You have to keep the conversation going.
Exactly. If you ignore someone's greeting, even if it's just a hey,
Right.
it can seem rude.
You mentioned earlier that time-specific greetings can be really important in some cultures. Are there other cultural things to be aware of when using English greetings?
Definitely. Even though English is spoken all over the world,
Right.
the way people greet each other can be different in different cultures.
So it's not just about the words themselves.
No, it's about understanding the cultural context, too.
Does body language play a role in English greetings, like handshakes or hugs?
Oh, absolutely. In formal situations, a handshake is very common.
Okay.
But with close friends or family, hugs might be more appropriate.
And a smile always helps. All right.
A smile makes everyone feel more comfortable.
So for someone who's totally new to English, what advice would you give them about learning these greetings?
I would say to start with the most basic ones.
Okay.
Like, hello, hi, the time-specific greetings, and how are you?
So those are like the foundation.
Exactly. And once you feel comfortable with those, you can start learning some of the more nuanced greetings.
And practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
Your script is really helpful for that. It explains everything so clearly.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm curious, do you think the way we greet each other is changing at all?
That's a good question.
I mean, language is always evolving,
Right.
so maybe greetings are changing too.
With things like texting and social media, we definitely see new greetings popping up.
Yeah, like, hey there, or what's good?
And don't forget about emojis.
Oh, yeah. A wave emoji can be a greeting now.
Right.
It's like we have a whole new language of digital greetings.
Yeah, it is.
But I think those classic greetings will always be around.
I agree. There's something timeless about them.
It's like they're a fundamental part of human connection.
Yeah, I think so.
We've talked about so much today,
We have.
from the simplest greetings to the more complex ones, and even how greetings are changing in the digital age.
It's been a really interesting discussion.
Yeah, it's been a real eye-opener to think about greetings in this much detail.
Right.
They're so ingrained in how we interact.
It's true. We don't always stop to think about them.
So I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge. As we wrap up this deep dive, think about which greetings you use most often and why.
Interesting.
Is it the classic hello? Or maybe you're more of a what's up person?
Yeah, good point.
Whatever it is, think about what it says about you and how you communicate.
And as you go about your day today, Pay attention to how other people use greetings.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
Notice the little differences in how they say them, the tone, the body language, all of it.
It's like we're sending you all on a mission.
Yeah, like a greeting detective.
Exactly. You might even find a new greeting that you really like.
Oh, that would be fun.
And then you can add it to your own collection.
Expand your horizons.
All right. Well, that's about it for our deep dive into English greetings. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time we're tackling something that I think we all struggle with from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
Expanding our vocabularies.
It can be tough.
Yeah. So today we're going to be working with this lesson plan I found.
Okay.
It's got 50 advanced English words that it wants to teach us.
All right.
And it's all broken down into these like themed sections,
Okay.
which is kind of nice for keeping it all organized.
I like that.
Yeah. So hopefully by the end of this deep dive, we'll not only have like a whole stack of new words,
Yeah.
but also some ideas about how to use them effectively.
That's the important part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So our first section is called Words for Expressing Emotions.
Interesting.
And, you know, I'm all for a good, like, happy or a sad.
Sure.
But looking through this list, I feel like there are some really evocative words in here that can help us take our communication to a whole new level.
I think that's right.
Like, okay, so one of the words is euphoric.
Ooh, I like that word.
Yeah. And it's just so much more intense than just saying, like,
Just happy.
happy.
Right.
It's like that feeling of, like, pure joy and excitement.
Absolutely.
Like you're on top of the world.
Yeah, it's not just like you had a good day. It's like you won the lottery or something.
Okay, yeah, that's a way better example.
It's a feeling of like pure bliss.
Exactly.
Like you're floating on air.
Okay, so I'm sold on euphoric.
Uh-huh.
What about melancholy?
Oh, melancholy. That's a good one. It's
It's so much more layered than just sad.
way more. Yeah, it's not just like you're bummed out about something.
Right.
It's more of a deep, thoughtful kind of sadness, often tinged with a bit of like nostalgia or longing for something.
Okay, so how does mastering all these subtle shades of emotion actually help us? You know,
Oh, that's a great question.
like in real life.
I think the more precisely we can name our emotions, the better we can understand and process them.
Okay.
And also, the better we can communicate them to other people.
Oh, that's a good point.
So, like, if a friend says they're feeling melancholy,
Yeah.
you get a much deeper understanding of what they're going through than if they just said sad.
Right.
And you can respond to them with more empathy and understanding.
Okay, I'm already feeling like I can express myself better.
I love it.
Let's move on to the next section, which is words for intellectual conversations.
Ooh, getting brainy.
I know, right?
Okay.
So these words are less about like showing off how smart you are and more about adding weight and clarity to your ideas when you're having those, you know.
Those deep discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like one of the words that jumps out at me is conundrum,
Conundrum. Oh, that's a good one.
which is way more interesting than just saying problem, right?
For sure.
It implies this kind of complex issue with maybe no easy answers.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle that you're trying to figure out.
Okay, so what's like the advantage of using a word like that in, say, like a work meeting or something?
I think it shows that you're not oversimplifying things. You know, you're acknowledging that the situation is complicated.
Yeah.
And that it requires like careful consideration and discussion.
So it can help elevate the conversation.
Exactly.
Okay, one of my favorites in here is ephemeral.
Ephemeral.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool sounding.
It is. It's almost like,
Like you're 1 minute, gone the next.
yeah, it's fleeting.
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful sunset
Oh, yeah.
or a shooting star,
Mm-hmm.
you know, something that's special because it doesn't last forever.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this next one, ubiquitous. I feel like I hear this one a lot,
Yeah, me too.
but I'm not always sure if I'm using it right.
Well, it means that something is like everywhere.
Okay.
You can't escape it.
Like smartphones are ubiquitous.
Exactly, they're everywhere.
Okay, but isn't just saying like common good enough?
I mean, I guess you could say common, but ubiquitous just has a little more oomph to it.
Okay.
It suggests that something is not only common, but it's also having a significant impact on our lives.
I see. Like smartphones aren't just common. They've changed the way we communicate,
Right.
the way we work, the way we do everything.
Okay. Ubiquitous it is. Last one from this section before we move on.
Yeah.
Ambiguous. I always kind of fumble over that one.
Ambiguous basically just means that something is open to interpretation.
Okay.
It could have multiple meanings or be unclear.
Like a piece of abstract art.
Exactly.
Okay. But how does that word actually work in like a real conversation?
Well, let's say you're talking about a movie with a friend.
Okay.
and you say the ending was really ambiguous.
Yeah.
You're not just stating a fact, you're inviting a discussion about what the ending could mean.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a way to like spark a deeper analysis of something.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to words for describing people now.
Oh, I like this section.
Me too.
We're going to have fun with this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so describing people accurately, it's a real art form, you know?
Oh.
And these words in this section will give you the tools to create these like really vivid portraits with your language.
Okay, well, let's start with charismatic. I always think of someone who like
Oh, yeah.
just owns a room. They have this magnetic energy.
It's like they just draw you in.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's more than just being charming.
Okay.
It's about inspiring others through your words and your actions.
Like Martin Luther King Jr.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's about impact as much as personality.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so what would be like the opposite of charismatic?
Well, maybe like reclusive.
Okay.
Someone who prefers to be alone.
Like a hermit.
Yeah, or like a brilliant artist who creates their masterpieces in solitude,
Right.
away from all the distractions of the world.
Okay, I can think of a few authors who fit that description perfectly.
I bet you can.
All right, cynical. I always struggle with this one
Yeah, it can be a tricky word.
because it just seems so negative.
It does have a negative connotation. But it's basically about having a distrustful view of human nature.
Okay.
You know, always expecting the worst from people.
Like they think everyone has an ulterior motive.
Exactly.
So they see the world through this lens of like,
Cynicism.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But why use cynical? Wouldn't negative or pessimistic be the same thing?
I mean, they're similar, but cynical suggests something a bit deeper.
Okay.
It suggests that the person's negativity is rooted in like a disillusionment with the world.
Oh, I see.
Like they've been let down so many times that they just don't believe in goodness anymore.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's not just a temporary bad mood, it's like a fundamental outlook on life.
Wow. There's so much to unpack with these words.
Oh no, all right.
Okay. Let's move on to section 4 now.
All right.
This one's called words for everyday contexts.
Everyday context.
Yeah, so are we talking about like spicing up our grocery lists now?
Haha, maybe.
Uh-huh.
But actually, these words might seem less flashy than the ones we've talked about so far. But they're super important because they're the words we use most often in our daily lives.
So like mandatory.
Mandatory, yes.
That one we hear all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's everywhere.
It just means like something is required, no two ways about it.
Right.
Like paying taxes.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yes, very mandatory.
Exactly. But is there like...
But think about how that word is used in different situations.
Okay.
Like a sign that says fasten seatbelt. It uses mandatory not to be bossy, but because clarity is crucial.
It's important information.
Yes, and the word mandatory conveys that sense of importance.
Right. Oh, right.
So it's not just about the meaning of the word, but also the tone it sets.
Okay, I see what you mean. What about imminent?
Imminent means that something is about to happen very soon.
Okay.
Like if you see storm clouds gathering,
Yeah.
you know, a downpour is imminent.
Or like when you can feel that fall is in the air?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, how about procrastinate?
Ooh, procrastinate. One of my favorites.
I feel like I'm a pro at that one.
Ha, we all procrastinate sometimes.
Right. It's just so tempting to put things off.
It is, even when we know we shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's move on to the last section for this part.
Sounds good.
It's called Words for Expressing Ideas.
Ooh, this is where it gets really interesting.
I know, right?
These words are your tools for shaping thoughts and presenting your ideas in a compelling way.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
So first up, we have innovative,
Oh, innovative. That's a great word.
which just means like fresh ideas and new approaches.
Right, but it's more than just being new.
Okay.
It's about coming up with solutions that are original and effective.
So like if someone invented a self-folding laundry basket,
Yes, that would be innovative.
that would change my life.
Right.
Okay, what about viable?
Viable means that something is practical and likely to succeed.
Okay.
So it's not just about having a good idea.
Right.
It's about whether that idea can actually be put into action.
Okay, so it's a really important word for like,
Decision making.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, last one for this part. Tangible.
Tangible.
I actually use this word a lot,
Oh, yeah, me too.
but I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Well, it means that something is real and concrete.
Okay,
You can touch it, you can see it, you can measure it.
so it's the opposite of like abstract.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already, but we've still got 10 powerful words waiting for us in part 2.
I'm excited to keep going.
Me too. We'll be right back after a short break.
Let's do.
Welcome back, everyone. All right, so we are back, ready to tackle the rest of these words for expressing ideas.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, let's do it. What's up first?
How about ambivalent? That's a good one.
Ambivalent, okay.
It describes that feeling of being kind of torn between different options.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're not sure how you feel about something.
Like when you get a job offer, that sounds amazing, but it also means you'd have to move away from all your friends and family.
Yeah.
That's total ambivalence right there.
You've got the excitement of a new opportunity,
Yeah.
but also the sadness of leaving everything you know behind.
And you can't really decide which feeling is stronger.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like a tug of war in your mind.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm realizing that these words aren't just about sounding smart. It's more about understanding all those little nuances of life.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's next?
Let's go with cohesive. This word is all about how things fit together
Okay,
to create a unified whole.
like a well-coordinated team
Exactly.
where everyone's working together seamlessly.
Yeah, everyone knows their role
Mm-hmm.
and they're all contributing to the same goal.
I like it. Give me a word that's kind of the opposite of that.
How about arduous?
Arduous, okay?
This one's for those tasks that require a lot of effort and perseverance.
Like training for a marathon,
Exactly.
or writing a novel.
Yeah, or even just cleaning out your closet.
Oh man, tell me about it.
But seriously, arduous implies that something is not just difficult, it's also demanding and time-consuming.
So it's not just a quick chore you can knock out in an afternoon.
No, it's something that you really have to commit to.
Okay, arduous it is. What's next on the list?
Feasible. This one's all about practicality.
Feasible.
Is something realistically achievable,
Mm-hmm.
given the resources and constraints you have?
Like if you're planning a trip with friends.
Yeah.
And someone suggests a cross-country road trip, but you only have a week's vacation and a limited budget.
Right. Then the road trip might not be feasible.
Exactly. Okay, give me another one.
How about proficient?
Proficient.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It means you're skilled or competent in a certain area.
Like, I'm pretty proficient at baking chocolate chip cookies,
Nice.
but I'm definitely not proficient at playing the guitar.
Uh-huh. Well, there's always time to learn.
True. Okay, what's next?
How about profound? This one's a big one.
Profound. Okay.
It's about experiences or ideas that have a deep and lasting impact on us.
Like a life-changing event. Yes. Or a book that completely alters your perspective.
Or even just a conversation that really makes you think.
Exactly.
Profound experiences can really shape who we are.
I think so too.
Okay, last one for this section.
All right, let's wrap up with plausible.
Plunkable.
Okay. It basically means that something is believable or reasonable,
Okay.
given the evidence or context.
So if someone tells you a story that sounds a little too good to be true,
Yeah.
you might question whether it's actually plausible.
Exactly. It's a good reminder to be critical thinkers.
I like it. Okay, so we've officially conquered all 20 words in the Words for Expressing Ideas section.
We did it.
I feel like my brain is about to explode with all this new knowledge.
It's a good feeling, right?
It is. But you know what?
What's that?
I think we have one more section to go.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, let's take a quick break and then come back to tackle those final 10 words.
Sounds good to me. See you in a few.
All right, we're back for the final stretch of our vocabulary odyssey.
I'm ready to wrap up this deep dive with those last 10 words.
Me too. Let's dive in. What's the first word we're tackling?
Okay, so let's start with articulate.
Oh, articulate.
It's a great word to describe someone who can express themselves clearly and effectively.
So like someone who's a really good public speaker
Exactly.
or someone who can write really well.
Yeah, they can put their thoughts into words in a way that's easy to understand and follow.
So it's not just about using big words.
No, it's more about using the right words.
Right, and arranging them in a way that makes sense.
Exactly. It's about clarity and precision.
I like it. Okay, what's next?
How about concise?
Concise, okay.
It means expressing something in a brief and to the point way.
So it's like the opposite of rambling.
Very much.
So like instead of saying due to the fact that, you can just say because.
Exactly.
It gets the point across without any unnecessary fluff.
I think that's important in any kind of communication.
Yeah, being concise can really help keep people engaged.
Especially in today's world where everyone's attention span is so short.
So true. Okay, what's next on our list?
Eloquent.
Eloquent. Ooh, I like that one.
It's similar to articulate, but it takes it a step further.
Okay, how so?
It suggests that someone is not only clear and effective in their communication, but they're also graceful and persuasive.
So they have a way with words. It's almost like poetry?
Yeah, think of someone like Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely eloquent.
His speeches are always so moving and inspiring.
Okay, eloquent is definitely going on my list of words to use more often.
Haha, me too. Okay, what about fluid?
Fluid. Okay.
It describes something that flows smoothly and effortlessly.
Like a dancer's movements?
Yeah, or a writer's prose.
Or even just a really good conversation.
Exactly. When something is fluid, it just feels natural and easy.
I love that.
Okay.
What's next?
Let's talk about persuasive.
Persuasive.
It's all about convincing someone to see things your way.
Okay, so it's like being able to make a really strong argument.
Yeah, and using logic and evidence to support your points.
And maybe appealing to their emotions a little bit too.
Maybe a little.
So it's a really important skill to have in any area of life.
Absolutely. Whether you're trying to get a promotion at work or convince your friends to try a new restaurant.
Persuasion is key. Okay, give me another one.
How about succinct?
Succinct.
It's similar to concise, but it emphasizes being even more brief.
So it's like getting straight to the point without any extra words.
Exactly. Think of it as like a Twitter post.
Where you only have 280 characters to get your message across.
Perfect example.
Okay, I can definitely see how being succinct can be a valuable skill.
Especially in written communication.
All right, what are we down to?
We have 3 left. How about coherent?
Coherent. Okay.
It means that something is logical and easy to understand.
So all the ideas are connected in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a clear flow from one point to the next.
Okay, so it's like the opposite of being all over the place.
Exactly.
Okay, what's next?
Compelling.
Compelling.
This one's about capturing someone's attention and making them want to learn more.
So it's like being able to tell a really good story.
Yeah, or giving a presentation that really draws people in.
So it's about being engaging and interesting.
Exactly. A compelling argument or story is one that you can't help but listen to.
Okay, last one. What is it?
Insightful.
Ooh, insightful. I like that one.
It describes someone or something that offers a deep understanding of a topic.
So like a really thought-provoking book?
Yeah, or a conversation with someone who really knows their stuff.
It's about getting beyond the surface level and really exploring the nuances of an issue.
Exactly. Insightful observations can really change the way we see the world.
Wow. I feel like we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
I know, right? It's been quite a journey.
We started with just a list of 50 words, and now I feel like we have a whole new understanding of how to use language effectively.
It's amazing how much power there is in words.
I know. And it's not just about sounding smart. It's about connecting with others
Absolutely.
and expressing ourselves in a way that's authentic and meaningful.
Well said.
Thanks. So to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
we hope you've enjoyed this vocabulary adventure as much as we have.
We encourage you to keep exploring new words.
And keep pushing yourselves to communicate more effectively.
And never underestimate the power of language.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye, everyone.